So a few years back, my life looked pretty different. Back in 2018, I went through a divorce. It was pretty difficult, like most divorces. But if I'm being honest, I think as far as divorces go, it was probably the most smoothest, most amicable breakups one could ask for, and I'm super grateful for that. But for anyone that's kind of been through it, regardless of how smooth and easy it may be, it's still pretty challenging. It's not just the end of a marriage. In a lot of ways, it's an end to a version of yourself. Just the person that I thought I was, the life I thought I had and that I was building towards, it just all kind of comes to an end. And I was left just picking up the pieces and trying to figure myself out and who I was and what was the next thing from that point on. And at this point, I wouldn't say I was walking with God, at least not intentionally. I grew up in a Christian household. We went to church every Sunday, and eventually my dad became a pastor. Like a lot of pastors' kids, we tend to stray a bit, even rebel. I know I certainly did. It's not like I'd completely abandoned my faith altogether. I didn't become atheist or anything like that. But, it's just around high school, college, around that time, it just wasn't really a priority to me anymore. I was still somewhat kind of going through the motions of things. I was still attending church off and on here and there and somewhat staying plugged in, but a lot of it was just for like social reasons. But if I'm being honest, I don't think my heart was really in it. And by the time I got married, I mean, I definitely wasn't there. God was just kind of like an afterthought. And I was just very much doing life on my own terms. But the thing that started to pull me back into faith, it wasn't what you would traditionally think. It wasn't church. It wasn't some sermon. I didn't read something in the Bible. Funny enough, it was a lot of therapy and self help and learning about emotional intelligence and personal development. I just kind of grew to fall in love with that content. I found it to be very helpful tools to kind of help me better understand myself, better understand other people. At one point, I found myself at an emotional intelligence retreat that really did a number on me in a good way. And I just found it all just to be super beneficial, just to kind of learn about myself even more and why I did what I did, why I felt what I felt, why I thought, instead of just trying to bury things or avoid things. It just really helped me learn more about myself and the world. Going inward and sitting with myself, it really kind of helped break and soften this thing I hadn't even realized had hardened inside of me. At this point, this was also when I started searching for community, and that's kind of where I found myself back in a church. And from there, that led me to finding the right people and slowly, quietly reintroducing me back into faith. So, with all this going on, I still wouldn't say I was living like a Christian. I was just kind of somewhere in between, one foot in, one foot out, still very much making questionable choices and just doing life the way I thought needed to be done. And then something happened that just kind of completely changed everything. Like many stories go, I met a woman. And it was during the summer of COVID. So back in 2020, we all remember how awesome that was. And I met this girl, and I just thought it was going to be something very casual, something temporary. But it ended up turning into something we weren't expecting at all. A few months into dating, she got pregnant. And we were both standing there at a crossroads with probably the most significant decision of our lives. And we had some things we needed to figure out. And I knew, like genuinely deep down, knew right then and there that whatever I decided to go with would define the kind of man I was going to be from that point on. And so, with such a serious decision on our shoulders, I decided to pray. I prayed, and I prayed a lot. And I got counsel from a pastor that we knew. He knew me somewhat well, but the one thing I really appreciated most about him was that he really knew scripture and he just wasn't afraid to tell me the truth. And I think underneath all that fear, the noise, the uncertainty, the thing I kept coming back to was this voice that kept saying, if you truly want to follow Jesus, like if you actually want to give your life to God and not just say it or not just talk about it, I knew deep down what I had to do. The choice was very clear and obvious. And so I chose. We chose together. We're going to have this baby and I was going to show up as a father, as a partner, and eventually as a husband. But more than any of that, I think I was arguably choosing an even bigger decision, which was I was deciding to now walk this path of faith. And it was for real this time. It wasn't halfway, it wasn't 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was very much 110% committed. And fast forward to now, and that little girl is here in my life. She's one of the best things ever. And that woman that I thought was just going to kind of be a temporary chapter is now my wife. And none of this was planned. None of this looked like what I thought a redemption story was supposed to be. But I guess that's kind of the point. I didn't come back to God through some powerful spiritual awakening. It wasn't church. I didn't hear some voice or see a bright light in the sky. It came to me through a series of unfortunate events. It happened through a divorce that really turned my world upside down, through therapy and self help and learning about emotions and mental health to kind of help soften my heart. It came through an unplanned pregnancy that really forced me to decide the type of man I was going to be. God had worked through all of those things, the mess, the mistakes, the things I'm not proud of, and he just used every single piece of it. And then there was that one person, that pastor, that kind of sat with me during that decision, just kind of helped me see things a little bit more clearly, who asked me the right questions, didn't judge me, and just kind of helped me find my way back to the answer that ultimately was kind of already in me all along. And I don't know if that person fully understands the impact they've had on my life. I do think about them pretty often. And, I guess I just kind of want to be that person for someone else. I'm not some expert counselor or pastor or therapist or anything like that. I'm just someone that has been through enough stuff in life that I feel like I could help someone else in their struggles, help hold space and sit with them, maybe ask them the right questions, give them some clarity, and hopefully even maybe really gently kind of point them towards God. And so, all that to say, I guess this is why this channel exists. This is why I'm here doing what I'm doing. And if you're someone that's kind of in between stuff right now, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're not sure what to believe, you're not sure where you're headed, then yeah, maybe this is the right place to be. Thanks again for watching. Really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you on the next one.